Hey guys, this is Thomas over here at NurseMoneyTalk.com, and in this video what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about the prereqs you need for nursing school. Now before I get to that though, if you're not already subscribed, what are you waiting for? Go ahead and hit that subscribe button. On this channel I talk about all things related to nursing student, and of course nurse life. Now let's go ahead and get started. In this video I'm gonna look at prereqs. Actually, I went and pulled up a prereqs list for one of the like the BSN RN programs here in my area, and so I want to go ahead and just kind of walk you through some of that. Now, the couple key things you need to take note of this is, while a lot of these prereqs will be very similar from nursing school to nursing school, there are going to be variations. So that's why I typically recommend go to NurseMoneyTalk.com/schools and start looking for nursing programs that you're interested in, nursing programs in your area. And so once you do that, then and actually find one, then you'll want to talk to an academic advisor, get their checklist, and then just kind of walk through with them or some of them if you're looking at multiple programs, because this is going to vary. Because if you go to one school and then, for instance, to do your prereqs, and then you start applying to nursing programs, you want to make sure that the nursing program that you apply to is going to accept the prereqs and whatnot from that program. And sometimes they don't, for whatever reason that still baffles me at times. Sometimes they don't. So I want you to make sure that you actually get in contact with that program, so you can be very, very confident in what you're doing. Now, how I'm gonna do this is that I actually took their list, and it's laid out in terms of what they recommend that you do for your freshman year, sophomore year, and even summers. Because remember, typically in a BSN program, you're probably gonna spend about the first 2 years or so getting your prereqs, and then once you're done with your prereqs, somewhere between the tail end of that 2 years, that's when you'll then apply to a nursing program to try to get in, and then of course you're going to finish out the rest of your 2-3 years or so in the actual nursing school. Now, what they recommend is for freshman year, so if we're looking at fall semester, so they're looking at taking like an English comp, maybe looking at general biology, and then looking at a general psychology. And then they also recommend a math. For some of you, you might have AP credit, for instance. So this math, you might actually get credit for it. For some of you who don't, you might have to take maybe like a college algebra or whatever. So that will depend on kind of like what your institution is calling it. So that's the freshman year in the fall. Now, freshman year in the spring, they're recommending kind of looking at, so this would be, they call it English Comp and Research. Some institutions might call this like an English Comp 2, looking at intro to chemistry and lab. So this would probably be like inorganic chemistry of sorts. Then looking at sociology, so you might have to maybe take like a language class or sorts. I know some places, if you've taken like, what was it? How did I get it right? Like if I took 2 years of what do you call it? Like 2 years of a language, then I was exempt for this, or I got credit for it. So it was, I took 2 years. I think I took 2 or 3 years of French when I was in high school. And then of course looking at philosophy. Based on this degree checklist, they actually built into taking some classes in the summer session. And so in the summer session, they're looking at doing like an intro to microbiology and lab, and then looking at government. So once again, government is another one where you might have AP tested out of this one. So I know, for instance, for me, I didn't have to take this because I took the AP class, took the AP exam pass, and so I got credit for this. So now, looking at your sophomore year, during the fall they have you taking human physiology and lab. They also have you taking human anatomy and lab as well. So they actually have you taking both in that same semester. And then they have you taking some kind of US history, and then a nutrition class. History class, once again, could have potentially have AP tested out of that one as well. Human anatomy and human physiology, that one is kind of interesting that they would actually group this together. Because when I was going through nursing school, kind of like the conventional wisdom was to actually take them separately. So my school actually recommended taking human anatomy first, and then the following semester take human physiology. Now, my school, the one I went to, was known for their human anatomy and human physiology being painfully hard, painfully difficult, to the point where a lot of students would actually go to a JUCO to take human anatomy, human physiology, as opposed to actually taking it at the university that I went with. So kind of like something that, like I said, this is going to vary in a lot of things. So I'm just kind of throwing my commentary. And the other thing to note as well when it comes to human anatomy, human physiology, is some places, I've seen this primarily at junior colleges, is where they don't have like a separate human physiology class and then a separate human anatomy class. What they'll do is they'll have like one class where it's a human anatomy, human physiology part 1, and then a human anatomy and human physiology part 2, or something like that. If that's the situation, what I have seen is, generally speaking, you have to take both in order to get credit for both of them. So you can't just take a part 1 and then get a credit for either one. So you have to take both a part 1 and a part 2 in order to actually get credit for both. Hope that makes sense. If not, let me know in the comment section. Sophomore year in the spring semester, then they're looking at probably like some general humanities, like some speech or something like that. And then they have like a healthy life skills, and then they have some other stuff, which, that's kind of the thing, like my school called it something else as well. So like, I think, for instance, I had to take 2 things of chemistry as well. And then there were some other classes that I had to take for my program that, interestingly enough, is actually not on this list. But the point of this list, though, is to actually give you some ideas of what you might have to deal with when it comes to prereqs. Ultimately, though, the schools that you're going to are the ones who are going to dictate what you have to take. So here are some quick takeaways. Number 1, talk to an advisor. Make sure the courses transfer. So, for instance, what may transfer from one school might not transfer for another one. So even in instances where you would think surely these are going to transfer, it might not. So here's an example where so I actually ended up getting a degree before I went to nursing school. I ended up getting a business degree, and so one of the courses I had to take was I had to meet some kind of stat requirement, right? So the program, one of the programs I was applying to, and they wanted specifically, my school, it was called psychology statistics. For business, I had to take econ statistics. Neither one would transfer, so business wasn't going to take psychology statistics, and the nursing programs were not going to take econ statistics. So I actually had to take both statistics classes. How much sense that makes, I do not know, because there were some subtle differences in terms of the calculations and whatnot. To me, those were all pretty much essentially the same class. Frustrating, but that's just to kind of give you an example of where of where, you know, you would think it would transfer, but come to find out it's not. So don't be caught by surprise. Last takeaway is that when you are talking to the advisor and you're comparing degree sheets, make sure you pay attention to the course number, because those course numbers can tell you a lot in terms of the credit, how many credit hours and all, and if you're even taking the right class. And so don't get into a situation where you think you're taking the right class only to realize that you missed up, you kind of mismatch the course numbers and you're taking the wrong class. And like always, there's a reason why I mention this to you, because it does happen, and it can be very difficult to kind of try to correct these things, just kind of depending on when you find out, or if you've already taken it and it's after the fact, then you're kind of stuck at that point. You have to go back and retake the class. That is all I've got in terms of these in terms of this video. Let me know if you have any questions in the comment section. Thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you very soon in that next video.